I'm one of the really fortunate ones because my son is doing fantastic. You know, we want everyone to recover, but these are illnesses are awful illnesses. And we don't know enough about them to make sure everybody does recover. What we do know is the chances of you recovering are better if you have hope. So we have to hope that everyone can recover. We have to give them the tools to recover, but we also have to remember that not everyone will. And for people, especially parents who have lost someone, that's important because these are cruel illnesses. Now, I was very lucky with my son. It took 6 years, 5 hospitalizations, being tasered by the police, being arrested, but my son finally came to grips with his mental illness. I became his partner. He agreed to start seeking help. But what kind of help did he get? First of all, when he was taken to the hospital, he had a CIT-trained police officer who actually insisted that the hospital take him in. The doctor said, well, there's nothing, my son was walking naked, and the doctor said, well, there's nothing dangerous about walking naked. And the CIT officer actually said to the doctor, oh, Dr. Smith, is that right? Well, I'm going to take him to your front yard and drop him off. And all of a sudden the doctor admitted him. Then he got a case manager. And what did she do? The first thing she did is she said, look, why don't you take medication? She actually talked to him. And he said, well, I've gained 200 pounds. I can't have sex. I can't drink. And those are important to lots of people, okay? And she said, let me find a doctor who will actually talk to you. Of my son's 7 psychiatrists, only 2 have ever bothered to learn anything but his name and his symptoms because they're only going to be paid for a 15-minute medical check. That's wrong. Treating the brain requires treating the heart. She found a doctor who listened to him and helped him deal with who wants to admit they have a mental illness? Who wants to admit you're different? Then she said, you shouldn't live with your dad. You're 30 years old. You need to have your own apartment. And she found him housing first. She put him in an apartment with 2 guys with schizophrenia. And she said, now look, this isn't a free ride. You have to pay a 30% of whatever you make. And we're going to meet with a treatment team and we're going to help you. And it gave him pride because he had housing. He had a place of his own, just like everybody else. And then she said, what are you going to do with your life? And he said, well, I have a mental illness. And she said, knock it off. Control the illness. Don't let it control you. Let's find you a job. So he got a job. And it's interesting because he got a job being the cart person at a Home Depot. Now, here's my son, Kevin, with a college education. And the best job he can get is pushing carts and helping people load things. And he's depressed naturally. The rest of his friends are moving on. They're getting married. They're having children. They're having lives. And he's collecting carts at Home Depot. And his therapist shows up one day. And his therapist says to him, wow, you're really doing well. And my son thought the therapist was mocking him. He says, no, you really are. I want you to come talk to my group. And so he went to the therapist's group and he talked. And he came out of that and he said, you know, I really helped those people. I gave them hope. I really like that. And so my case manager went to him and said, you know, you can really communicate well. How about becoming a peer specialist? Someone with mental illness who helps other people with mental illness, with lived experience, helps them deal with their mental illness. And he said, yeah, I'd like to do that. And I got to brag on my son, a guy who's had schizophrenia, who's in his parents' basement, months, refuses to come out. My son goes and sees him and just starts talking to him and dealing with him. And after several weeks, he gets him out of that basement. And they go to McDonald's, not the best choice, I don't think. And they go to a movie. Now, that's not a big deal unless that's your son. Unless that's your son. And that's the kind of work my son does because he was able to recover. And today he lives alone, has his own apartment, he pays taxes, and he actually is in his 2nd year of getting his master's degree in social work because this changed his life and he wants to help others recover from this illness.